Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we have a special for you. Chris and Sarah, in fact both of them, having a right old rant on Instagram, living their best lives in the island of Portugal as we speak, and having a go at everybody about, well, just what they do basically. But it was one in particular comment which seemed to rile them right up the wrong way. So this was in response to Chris's Insta post the other day about how emotional that everything was and how Jace looked so it was a whole emotive thing, right? And this person says, good sentiment, but what about providing a suitable education so they can thrive as adults? What about an age-suitable bedtime routine so little Mila and Jace aren't going to bed at ridiculous times? There's more to life than endless campsites. And I'd have to agree, mister. There is more to life than campsites. Unfortunately, though, Chris does not agree. Actually, you're wrong. Nothing in life is more precious than family time. Nothing. I actually seem to remember you saying this before, Chris. In fact, you get an education in it, don't you? Something about And
we believe that travelling, life experiences, quality family time, and all things like that are educational as well as...
Who said children need to be in bed by 7 p.m? Who made that rule and said it should apply to all parents? My children have a bedtime routine. Just because those hours don't mirror that of your children doesn't make them any worse, right? So my issue here, Chris, is obviously different children have different routines, different children have different bedtimes, but most people would agree, I think, that kids probably should be in bed, but at a suitable hour. I mean, even like Isla and Esme really should be in bed at a reasonable hour. I don't really see why Mila and Jace should be up past midnight, for example. Like the other day, you were at a restaurant, and what were you actually sitting down to eat at like 9 p.m. or something like that, was it? On Mila's birthday? What's the matter with you? Nobody eats at that time. There's such a thing as a digestive system. In fact, now I don't prescribe to this myself entirely, but it is said that you shouldn't really eat much, if at all, after 8 p.m. because your system needs a chance to digest and everything. So yeah, that's from the experts, that's not me. As long as my children get the right amount of hours sleep per night, are happy and thriving, why does it matter to anyone else what those hours are? What works for our family or what works for your family doesn't necessarily work for everyone's. Okay, I'll stop you right there for one thing, right? See, you contradict yourself a lot and lie a lot. I think this is the problem that you have, is that you lie so often that people do get a bit confused, and then you throw it back at them because they're confused about a situation. So not too long ago, you said that your routine for your kids, your eldest kids, sitting down for their education was about 8:30 in the morning. Right, you sat around the table that was your routine, and that was per your words, right? But on the other hand, you've got the kids going to bed at midnight, and you also saying that they're getting enough sleep as long as they get enough sleep. But if they're going to bed at midnight and getting up and ready for like 8 or 8:30 in to do their schoolwork, then it kind of contradicts everything that you're saying, and makes you full of shit, essentially. As for education, yawn. So tired of people thinking they know what my children's education consists of just because we don't film it. We don't have to show or prove anything. So yeah, no, you don't have to show or prove anything, obviously. It's up to you. It's your lives. You do what you want. Fuck up your kids' lives if that's what you want to do. However, when people are invited into your life, like you have done, in fact, you've made a very good living out of, exposing your kids' lives. We'll get more onto that in a bit. But, it then becomes people's prerogative to just have an opinion, and I don't think you quite grasp that. Now, you can say all you like how much our kids are thriving at education, our kids are doing this and that and the other, but at the end of the day, we see, we don't see all of your day, but we see enough of it to paint a very good picture. And additionally, we see how the kids actually act and behave. And I would say Isla in particular has regressed beyond any recognition of what she used to be. Now, Isla used to be a very, very bright, intelligent child. And she used to love school, and she used to love to learn. And she used to be very well educated, very well spoken in her words. Now, she is talking like a toddler. And I don't like to say things like that because so many people are throwing this crap out about her and others. But at the end of the day, it is actually true. If you listen to how Isla speaks compared to how she spoke when you first whipped her out of school, you'll notice that she actually speaks more childlike now than she did then. And that's how we know that very little of anything is actually being done. If people are ignorant enough to make stupid assumptions, that's their problem. But stupidity aside, it might be good to remember or educate yourself on whether your child is in a traditional school system or they're home educated. There is an education board checking in on you yearly, and you have to provide a yearly assessment, report on where your child is, what they're learning, and have learnt in the year since the last report. So, right, okay, you are absolutely spot on, Chris. I'm not in your position. I don't know as much as you do, quite clearly, about the system, but yeah, I'm very certain you have to provide a report to the school or to the education system to say where your child is at, so that they know that you're teaching them, basically. However, I seem to remember when all this started, when you first started on your education journey, your home education journey, and Sarah posted in a Facebook group for home educators asking how to get round the report. Apparently the report you sent in wasn't good enough, and you wanted advice on how to get around it. So I'm assuming, judging by the people that replied to you, that there is actually a way of getting around the system. I mean, maybe that's just me being cynical, but I think that somehow that you have found a system, because if it's being truly left up to you, your kids are not being marked and not being scored. You don't like tests, remember, they're not being scored on a test. So the education system doesn't know how intelligent your kids are. They don't know what level your kids are at, because what they're going by probably is something to do with you telling them lies. I don't want to say lies, but lies of some description. I'm not quite sure what, but if it meant that you could carry on doing what you're doing, you wouldn't lie to anybody. I don't doubt that. And if your child isn't receiving adequate education, there is intervention and they can be forced back to school. There's a reason our children are signed off for another year as soon as our reports are sent each year. It's crazy we have to continue explaining this to strangers online who just seem so invested in their lives. Oh dear God, where to start? As I mentioned, Chris, I think you're lying or deceiving them in some way to keep them out of school. But strangers online who seem so invested in your lives, in their lives, you've made a very, very, very good living of strangers being invested in your kids' lives. Why complain about it now? It just seems crazy to me that they would actually have a problem with that when that is literally their business model. Idiots. And then this person comes back with, maybe don't share their lives then. You put your children online, so take people's concerns and comments with that. It'll be very interesting indeed once YouTube dries up and when your kids are grown, what they'll end up doing with their amazing homeschooling. And I'd have to agree with that. I mean, what are the kids going to do with no schooling whatsoever? You know, it's amazing that Chris and Sarah actually try to say that the kids are homeschooling properly, when we know for a fact that even Isabel, she fucked up. I mean, I'm sorry, Isabel, but firstly, she was doing exams, and then they lied to they even took Isabel to the exam centre to film it, to prove that she was going, when it's clear as day she didn't go. And then they lied about her English GCSE result, but didn't get anything else. And then they said that she's going to college, and then she said she was excited for going to college. Now she's saying she doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about college. It's not the end of the world. She's taken a year out, and then she's going, and now she's not going anymore. And in September she's going to be doing fuck all, and it's all brilliant. See, this is the end result, Chris, of your years of doing the system, basically, because September comes along. Isabel is an adult. And what does she have to do when she's an adult? She has to start adulting. That's right. And what do adults do? They work, they study, they even sign on. I know it's a strange concept, but she isn't actually contributing. If she doesn't do anything come September, when she's 18, she's not contributing at all. Even if she was to sign on and get benefits, she would be contributing to her national insurance, for example. But if she does nothing, she won't get anything, and she won't contribute anything to society. So what's she gonna do? Just be a bum, is it? Is that your plans for your eldest daughter? Seems like a plan to me. And I guess Chris had his say for the evening, because it was Sarah that took over, some sort of tag team going on here. And she was absolutely sensational in her opinions. This is the point though, isn't it? We are their parents, not you. We can decide what we share online and what we decide to keep private. It's actually crazy because we chose to share snippets of our lives. Right, Sarah, Ingham, what the hell? Please tell me that you actually take things in, words, enter that brain of yours and don't just come out the other side. Please. Right, just because you're a parent, right? Okay, start from the top. First of all, children, kids, cannot, repeat after me, kids cannot consent. Kids cannot consent. Kids cannot consent. Etc. Keep repeating that until you go to bed. Repeat it in your sleep. Maybe you'll wake up reciting it. I don't know, right? Kids cannot consent. So when you say we are their parents, we decide what to share of their lives, and we are the kings of the universe, right? It's not true, Sarah. You can't decide. Just because you're their parent, you cannot decide their entire life story, period, right? You can't. They can't even say mama, as you would say, I want to be on your blog or vlog, or I want to be on your videos because it's so amazing and everything. No, they can't do that. They're not old enough. They don't have developed enough brains to do that. Sarah, being a home educator of 2 very young children, I would have thought you would have some level of knowledge about the whole human child brain. Maybe it's just me being a bit silly on that, I don't know. So she says, it's actually crazy because we chose to share snippets of our lives for entertainment. You somehow feel entitled to know every single aspect of our whole lives. We upload content for entertainment. Well, I'm glad you think so low of your kids, that they're just there for entertainment purposes. They're there for our entertainment, or that all the privacy that you've disclosed, the private moments you've disclosed of your kids, that has all been for entertainment purposes. Bloody hell, seriously, she's deranged, honestly. We don't owe you an explanation on everything we do. You may not owe us an explanation, but you owe the iFam something, don't you? Because they're the ones that have given you this lifestyle. So that's, if you're ignorant enough to make assumptions, that's your problem, not ours. Aside from that, YouTube isn't our main source of income. So when it dries up, we will continue living the amazing lives we are living now. Oh my word, oh my god, oh my lord. What the hell, Sarah? So this amazing business side hustle that you've got going on, which actually brings in more money than your YouTube channel, because YouTube is just the side, it's nothing, right? You just get a few extra pennies for spending money, and you have this other huge business on the side, which somehow is so elusive that the taxman doesn't need to know about it. So, I've got to know. I'm sorry. So I'm thinking of doing a specific video on how or what the Inghams side hustle actually is. Comment down below if you'd like to see that particular video, because I've got some cracking ideas. It's going to be an absolute hoot. And absolutely mentalist they are. Just like you will probably continue to love yours. At home, making stupid assumptions on a family you don't even know. See, that's what I don't get, right? I get why she might be upset about people making assumptions when they don't know the whole story, right? That may be annoying to her. But she's also saying that about the people who love her unconditionally on YouTube, all the fans, all the youngsters that have been watching them down the years, all the vulnerable adults, etc., who also watch them without knowing anything about them. So basically they're saying the same thing about their fans. You're making assumptions about a family you don't even know. Maybe we're not this lovely family that you think we are. Because they always get the defenders saying, oh, you're such a lovely family, keep doing you. And you're like, well, she just said you don't even know us. How do you know we're a lovely family? Sarah goes on to say, 100% agree with the person who agreed with them. RE, their education. Totally disagree with the school system and glad my children are out of it. Okay, Sarah, please do tell me, what do you disagree with the school system about? Because, as far as I remember, you were fairly well against taking your kids out of school in the first place. It was Chris that wanted to, because you were happy with them in their school. What you didn't like about the school system was the fact that you weren't allowed to whip your kids out of school at any given opportunity to take your kids on holiday. I mean, that's not really a school system problem, that's a you problem, doesn't it? So yeah. So this other person goes on to say, homeschooling parents do an amazing job. These two, however, are not homeschooling these kids, and it's the kids that will suffer in the long run. Happy for you to scroll past my comment if you don't like it. So there you go. That same person continues, you owe no one an explanation, but don't get all stroppy when someone dares to have a difference of opinion to yours. You sold your kids' lives online, so part of that is the comments from others you receive, but you always get so aggressive. They continue, of course you are the parents, but don't forget you sold your kids' lives online for the money that brings, so you then get the comments etc from people who you can't get to choose what comments etc. You like it comes with the territory. You get so aggressive when someone dares question or comment, which is ridiculous, again, as you sold yourselves out for the money. I truly hope the kids are getting an amazing education for their sake. So that pretty much says what it says. They agree. Sarah sold her kids for the money, and yeah, absolutely agree with that comment. Sarah's Brain of Britain response was simply, you literally scream jealousy. Indeed, all that about the education, the money, selling your kids for money, because any influencer, if you took that point to them and saying you are selling your kids for money, they have nothing to reply. They never ever reply to that point. And Sarah just says, yeah, you're jealous. Fucking hell, idiot. And don't be giving me you get all stroppy when someone dare to have a different opinion. Yours isn't an opinion. Maybe educate yourself on what that means. You haven't given your opinion in your comments. I'll quote you. Homeschooling parents do an amazing job. However, these two are not homeschooling. This isn't an opinion. This is an accusation on something you know absolutely nothing about. Well, Sarah, how is that not an opinion? Their opinion is that you're not homeschooling. That is an opinion, right? Your opinion is that it's not, your opinion is that you are homeschooling. Their opinion is that you're not homeschooling. I'm not quite sure what to tell you, okay? It's maybe go back to school yourself. Anyway, if you don't want people getting stroppy, maybe keep your mouth shut and out of people's personal business you know nothing about. Again, with the keep your nose out of our business. It's like, do you not know what you do for a living? You actually put your lives online for people to comment on. That's the entire reason you do it. Or is it only just people who fawn over you that count in this little Sarah Ingham world? And finally, she finished it off with this. It's funny how these questions and comments always come from people like you, the ones who feel we owe them an exploration. Well, Sarah, I invite you to explore a little bit further. You can't educate a drone, slave to the system. What the fuck? It's too many years of following idiots on Facebook is what's done this to her. Seriously, to have the mindset of, you're a slave to the system. What? What? I mean, you are... Right, you've taken your kids out of school and they're out of mainstream life. They have no friends. They have no life. They have no activities, they have no games, they don't have any memories of any friends or any activities or anything going forward, and no education to hold them in good stead when they go forward in life. And yeah, everybody else, they're just a slave to the system, because yours is the way to go, clearly, obviously. What the hell? So I'll crack on enjoying my life. So I gotta say, Sarah, you do not look like you're enjoying your life, right? At all, whatsoever. I'm sorry, you kind of have this like unkempt like scowl on your face the whole time whilst you're living your best life. I don't know, maybe it's just something I'm picking up from your vlogs, but that's what I get from it anyway. Knowing I'm giving my children the best upbringing possible, and you continue living yours, worrying about the education of children you don't even know. Have a lovely day. Again, she ends up with the, you don't even know them, why are you worrying about them? Okay, well, we won't give a fuck about them. Is that what you want? And in turn, your iFam, they won't give a fuck. I mean, you know all those iFam that queue up for hours and hours and hours just to meet your children? Are you actually saying to them that they were wrong and that they shouldn't have done it, and that actually what they are in fact are idiots for bothering to queue up for hours to meet your kids? Because at the end of the day, they don't even know your kids. Your kids might be, you know, like, I don't want to say the words, people start to talk. So I don't know what to say, Sarah. It's been a brilliant time that you've given us here, living your best life, clearly. Where were you when you were doing all this? Were you in Portugal still, or on your way home? Because you must be so bored if you had time to have like a little argument. You always make yourself look stupid. That's the funny part. Anyway, you crack on living your best life. I'll crack on living mine, and we'll meet somewhere in between. Until next time, everybody take care of yourselves. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment everything you want to comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.